people need guys like yourself and your wife to look up to and to figure out how to get through some of these difficult moments. So I think it's needed now more than ever. I talk on this show about the fatherless crisis that we have going on in this country. We have so many kids growing up without a father or a father figure in their life. And I think that's really having such a devastating toll on our society. What's your take?
Yeah, I agree with you. And just like you said, you're a recovering addict and covering alcoholic. I think, hopefully this book will open up where people can talk about it more. I mean, you go to the barber shop and we could talk about our favorite basketball player, favorite football player. We could talk about sneakers. We could talk about music. But sometimes, we don't talk about things that are more important, like, relationships. Hey, my wife is bugging me about this. Do you guys have the same problem? How do you deal with it? Hey, I'm dealing with this. Hey, my son is going through this, or my daughter's going through this. And this is hopefully will open it up so we can have those conversations. That's why I love your platform, where we can talk about things like that. And when it comes to, like you said, I think we need more fathers in people's lives, right? I was lucky my dad was in my life. He's still in my life. To this day, he's a retired police officer, and he still calls me like I'm 16 years old and bosses me around. But sometimes it's needed. Sometimes, I need that advice. And although I didn't necessarily listen to him as a kid, when you get a little older, you realize what he was trying to do is teach you and make you on the right path, put you on the right path. So I think we would see less crime, less problems, less incidents if there were more fathers in people's lives.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is DJ Envy. DJ Envy is one of the co-hosts of The Breakfast Club. He has also got a brand new book out right now with his wife Gia titled Real Life, Real Love. Takes a deep dive into their relationship, their parenthood journey, and we're going to talk about all that today. Also, First Class Fatherhood, advice and wisdom from high-profile dads is now available on Amazon and wherever you could buy books. It opened as a #1 new release, #1 bestseller on Amazon. So go over there, down in the description below, tap the link, get yourself a copy. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with DJ Envy on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, DJ Envy. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start it just like this. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
I have 6 kids. I have a 20-year-old name is Madison, an 18-year-old named Logan. I have London, who is 8, Jackson, who is 7, Brooklyn 5, and then Peyton, who's 4 months old.
Wow, congratulations on the little one there. Yeah, I got 4 kids myself, and sometimes I can't remember. So, they're like, Dad, how could you? And I used to think that with my parents, like, how could you forget our names? And sometimes I call the wrong kid. I'm like, now I get it a little bit. I already got 4 of them. So
Yeah, nah, you know what it is I try to do them in order, so I always remember. I always remember Madison, Logan, London, Jackson, Brooklyn, Peyton. So that way I always remember.
very cool. What kind of sports or activities are they all into?
Madison was a basketball player when she was in elementary school and middle school, even a little bit in high school. But once she got to like her junior, senior year, she was done with that. My son Logan, he plays football for Bergen Catholic. He's one of the star wide receivers, so he does well. So right now it's 7-on-7 tournament time. So we've been traveling everywhere from Houston to Atlanta to Tennessee for him.
Wow,
And the
incredible.
little ones.
I went to Bergen Catholic myself, so pretty
Oh,
cool.
you went to Bergen Catholic. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm a Jersey guy over here.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he goes there, and then my 8, 7, and 5, they play whatever. They play soccer, basketball, football, baseball. They play a little bit of everything. Right now they're at that age where they're just trying everything. If they can kick it hard, they think they're soccer stars. If they can throw the ball good, they think they're baseball players. If they make it in the hoop one time, they think they're LeBron James. So they're playing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, very cool. I know a little bit about that. All right, if you could, please, DJ Envy, hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
I'm a kid from Queens, New York. I came up under DJ Clue, who was like my mentor, somebody who I love watching. I started doing radio. I went to school at Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. I came back to Queens, New York, and I couldn't afford a home. So I bought a house in West Milford, and people don't know where West Milford is in Jersey, where they shoot the Jason movie. So it's nothing but forests and woods. So that was the only house I could afford. So I moved there and then started making a little money and started moving closer to the city. And I have 6 kids. I've been married 21 years. I've been with my wife 27 years. And right now I'm on The Breakfast Club, which is a syndicated morning show in about 120, 130 markets.
Yeah, you've had some tremendous success, and I'm going to jump into your new book, which is available now, Real Life, Real Love, in just a minute here. But if you could, take us back to the beginning of your fatherhood journey. Then I know you said your oldest was 20. So about how old were you when you first became a dad, and how did that experience change your perspective on life?
My wife was 22. I was 23, fresh out of college. And it changed everything. I was one of those guys that had a motorcycle and was driving 100 miles an hour. I didn't care. You're a little reckless when you're a kid, but then when you have to live for something else, you try to change it and make things right. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, first person in my family to graduate out of college, first person in my family to really invest and to try to figure out what this generational wealth thing looks like. So for me, it's very important to make sure that my kids are happy. Like I tell my kids all the time, I don't care what you do. If you want to do nails, if you want to do sanitation, if you want to be a teacher, I don't care. I want you to be happy. But it's my job to make sure that financially you are good. So if my daughter wants to do nails, that's fine. But I'm going to teach her how to open up nail salons. If my son wants to be sanitation, that's fine. But I'm going to teach him how to have a sanitation company with a bunch of different trucks. And that's my job as a father.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I love that. And I really wish our school systems would be dedicated in that same way to prepare our kids for things like that entrepreneurial spirit that's really opens the door to success for everybody in this country right now, especially with the online stuff. I mean, people are doing things on there that you would never think you can make money, and they're building generational wealth doing it. So uh,
Absolutely.
I love that there. So let me jump into this here, the book, Real Life, Real Love, Life Lessons on Joy, Pain, and the Magic That Holds Us Together. Why did you decide to write the book, you and your wife, and what is the book? Who is the intended audience here, and what can they expect when they read it?
I mean, the audience is anybody in a relationship, out of a relationship, single. It's really for everybody. Me and my wife, like I said, we've been together 27, married 21. And so many people come up to us and ask us how. How did you guys do it? And sometimes when people see things on Instagram or social media, they think things are perfect. They think things are great. So we wanted to write this book to let people know that things ain't always great. We've been through the ups, the downs, the lefts and rights, but it's how we continue to stay together, how our journey was good. We show you things in the book that you don't want to do, things that I did that, I'm glad my wife stayed, and things that we did to make our relationship stronger. We go through the process of everything from insecurity to cheating to forgiveness to raising kids to, keeping a healthy sex life. So we talk about all that and what we do, and hopefully people can take things, some of what we do and put it into their relationships and their lives.
Yeah, real life, real love, life lessons of joy, pain, and the magic that holds us together. Such a needed book right now, DJ Envy. I'm married 17 years myself. I'm a recovering alcoholic, recovering addict, the whole bit. So there's times there too, and I try not to focus as much on the relationship part with this show, particularly just talking about the fatherhood aspect. But really, people need guys like yourself and your wife to look up to and to figure out how to get through some of these difficult moments. So I think it's needed now more than ever. I talk on this show about the fatherless crisis that we have going on in this country. We have so many kids growing up without a father or a father figure in their life. And I think that's really having such a devastating toll on our society. What's your take?
Yeah, I agree with you. And just like you said, you're a recovering addict and recovering alcoholic. I think, hopefully this book will open up where people can talk about it more. I mean, you go to the barbershop and we could talk about our favorite basketball player, favorite football player. We could talk about sneakers. We could talk about music. But sometimes, we don't talk about things that are more important, like, relationships. Hey, my wife is bugging me about this. Do you guys have the same problem? How do you deal with it? Hey, I'm dealing with this. Hey, my son is going through this, or my daughter's going through this. And this is hopefully will open it up so we can have those conversations. That's why I love your platform, where we can talk about things like that. And when it comes to, like you said, I think we need more fathers in people's lives, right? I was lucky my dad was in my life. He's still in my life. To this day, he's a retired police officer, and he still calls me like I'm 16 years old and bosses me around. But sometimes it's needed. Sometimes, I need that advice. And although I didn't necessarily listen to him as a kid, when you get a little older, you realize what he was trying to do is teach you and make you on the right path, put you on the right path. So I think we would see less crime, less problems, less incidents if there were more fathers in people's lives.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. One important part of the fatherhood or the father figure is the discipline portion of it. And I love to ask dads about there. So what type of disciplinarian are you as a father? And is that different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
I'm probably the same style as my dad. So my dad never put a hand on me. Never popped me, never touched me, never hit me. But he was so scary. Him being a police officer and my dad 6'3", I didn't want to be popped. So when he said something, I listened. My mother was more of the grab me by the shirt collar and yoke me up. My grandmother was more of the popping, but they were stern but fair. And I raised my kids the same way, very stern but fair. And with that, they understand that when I tell them something, it's for their best interest. So my wife is a little more lenient. So we play good cop, bad cop. She's more, if she says no, she explains why no. They can ask questions. Me, there's no questions. My dad didn't allow me to ask questions. If I said, Dad, I want to go out, and he said no, no was no. And that was it. I just had to eat that. And I'm kind of the same way. If I say no, it's no. My wife is a little different, so we have different ways of doing it, which I think balances out our family. But for me, I'm a stern guy. I like to, yeah, what I tell you, do it. I don't have to explain to you, just know it's for your best interest.
Yeah, really great stuff, DJ Envy. And you know, I talk to guys that have 4 or more kids like myself, and my wife and I, making that jump from 2 to 3 was the most challenging for us because our older 2, we're not quite there yet to be able to take care of themselves. Then having the infant, that first year felt like one long day for us going from 2 to 3. What would you say out of the 6? What was the most challenging transition for you guys as far as number of kids?
I would say 2 to 3 because we waited so long. Um, the new baby's a little easier because I have a 20-year-old that can help. I have an 18-year-old son that can help. Even the 8 and 7, they can keep an eye on. But when we went from 2 to 3 and started over, and the 2 kids were in everything, basketball, and I got to drive them around because I become an Uber driver, right? So you're driving one here, driving one there, you're giving a high five to your wife and meeting you there, and then you still got the baby at night trying to sleep. So that was the most difficult time. And I think we try to have babies in twos so the kids have somebody to play with. So right now, my 8, 7, and 5, I know when they come home, they do their homework. When they play outside, they play outside with each other. Dad doesn't have to jump on the trampoline anymore. Dad doesn't have to do these things anymore. So they kind of have each other, which is great. The new baby, I'm gonna I have to make sure I continue to stay in good condition because she's not gonna have anybody. So Dad's gonna have to get back on the trampoline and back down the water park slides and on the roller coasters and all those things that dads do.
Yeah, she'll keep you young for sure. And you know, I'd love to ask your advice here. I love the dads that have been through it a little bit. My oldest is 15, so he's just on the onset of that dating scene and that whole world, which is completely different today. Everybody dates through apps and everyone's on their social media and stuff like that. So how have you what kind of advice did you give your older kids when it came time to start hitting that dating scene?
Well, the one good thing about our generation is, and I don't know if it's the same with you, but when my parents were older and they listened to music, I didn't care what my parents liked. I didn't like what they liked. I didn't want to hear what they hear. But this generation, we kind of listen to the same music, right? We all listen to, whether it's Jay-Z or Little Baby or it's Nicki Minaj or Cardi B, we kind of all listen to the same thing. So with that, we can bond a little differently. So when my daughter is dating, she comes to me, which is great. Hey, Dad, this guy said this. What does it mean? Oh, hey, God, Dad, this guy did this. What does it mean? The same thing with my son. Hey, Dad, this is what happened. What does it mean? And we're able to talk because we see each other on the same level, opposed to my dad, who I always felt was way higher than me. He listened to Otis Redding and the Temptations. Like, he doesn't understand me, but it's a little different now.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a good point. And I think that's the same. One of the things with the technology is we have the chance to share so much more of that stuff with our kids, like especially when it comes to movies, TV shows. Like I could sit down and watch movies I grew up with and
Right.
share them with my kids on, on demand. So that part of it is pretty cool as well. And what would you say, DJ Envy, are the top values that you hope to instill in all your kids growing up?
Well, one is always, we always say God, love, family, and honesty, right? So we always make sure God is in our life, right? And that requires, and not going to church every Sunday, like my grandmother made me do, but like just being spiritual, praying every day, being thankful. That's number one. Family, make sure you take care of your own. And if something has happened, if I'm not here, if your brother or your sister needs help, make sure you take care of each other. Love, make sure there's love in your heart. That's the main thing. Be humble and continue to help people. That's the main thing with our family. Be humble, be kind. That is the 2 things that we really push. And the rest is just being honest. And those are our values as a family. And, our family has a mission statement. And the mission statement we pretty much wrote so we know where we want to be. When our kids are in the outside world, they have to know that they represent me. When they're out there and they doing something crazy, people look at your parents and be like, that's how you were raised. And the kids understand that. And they try to follow that mission statement of God, love, family, respect, and honesty.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, I try to liken that to them, like almost like with a football team. They always say, "Hey, you're representing the whole team, not just yourself, the individual," and try to get them to play on a team. I really love that. And so, obviously, you got the book out now, Real Life, Real Love. What are you doing with it? You doing the book tour here? What kind of appearances you making? What's coming up for you?
So we're hitting the book tour. You can follow me on Instagram or any social media at DJ Envy. So we're hitting New Jersey, Manhattan, DC, Houston. We're going all over the place. And we just want to get this book out there, talk to as many people as possible. And hopefully people have questions and we can talk to them and hopefully guide them like, we were guided in our relationship.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to drop the link in this description of this podcast episode so my listeners can tap it, check it out. It's such a valuable resource and needed today. So last thing I'll hit you with here, I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
One thing I would say, be yourself, be loving. There is no instruction manual for kids. Like, it's not like you could open up a book and say, read, this is how to do it. Everybody is different, but as long as you're in that child's life and you show that child love, that child will show love to the world. And that's what I tell everybody. There's no instruction manual. I remember I tell a story in the book how I had my daughter, she was learning how to crawl, and she was on the floor. And we both looked on the floor, and there was a penny. So we both, I think she was maybe 8, 9 months, we both dove for the penny. And she won. She got the penny, threw it in her mouth, and I was bawling. I thought I killed her. I thought she was going to die. I remember calling 911, and they were like, she's breathing, right? And I'm like, yeah. They was like, don't worry. There's like, kids swallow stuff all day long. It'll pass through. You just got to find it in the pamper. And my wife, who was not going through the Pampers, left 12 Pampers for me, and I had to find it, but I found it, and we still have that penny to this day.
Yeah, you got to play the number on that year on the penny. You know, that's a good picket number there.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, I love the advice. DJ Envy, you're a first-class father all the way, and I got to say thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.